and sports Lynchburg. Now, take the fast lane through the topics that matter across the Commonwealth. This is the Fast Lane with Ed Lane.
We've already taken a bit of a detour because, well, we had Virginia Tech baseball that we just played for the first 10-ish minutes of the Fast Lane. But time to do another one. Hold up. Got to get the computer potted up, by the way.
Time to take a detour in the Fast Lane.
We're learning on the fly, by the way, because this is the first time TJ has flipped over from a game to the Fast Lane. First for everything. He's learning. He's doing great. Here's the interesting process that I would throw in there as well. He's dealing with the fact that I'm trying to guide him through this. And if TJ, have you ever been, of course, I'm petulant like that in the Fast Lane. I didn't even mention them on the InsaneRadioDeals.com fast take I did earlier today. Have you been to the eye doctor before and gotten your pupils dilated?
Yes, I have, years ago.
And then they give you those ridiculous glasses that you wear, which I kind of wore at times outside, and then at times it's just alternating between, and if you're watching at Fast Lane, Ed Lane, or VTR in sports, these glasses that I'm holding up, normally I'm a contact lens guy, but I'm alternating back and forth. So if I am off, clicking the wrong soundbite or anything else, please just, well, I'll ask for some forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
Hey, so far so good.
Is more than saying sorry.
Yes, that ridiculous song from Just Friends finds its use once again here in the Fast Lane. We are asking for forgiveness, but we're going to do the best that we can today. Speaking of forgiveness, there should be none in the NFL for something that kicks us off right now in the Fast Five at 5-ish.
It's time for Fast Five at 5-ish. 5-ish minutes on 5 relevant topics done around 5 p.m.-ish. Ish, because our counting skills are kind of ish. Let's start with number 5.
So the aforementioned InsaneRadioDeals.com fast take that I did outside the eye care place today, if they or any other eye care provider would like to partner with us at the Fast Lane, I'll be glad to actually tag you and mention you during the show. But until then, I'll continue to remain petulant like that. But the one that I did, I had those ridiculous glasses on, the plastic ones that they give you when you walk out the door, to go on top of my regular glasses, and how absurd the vision and look of that is. Nothing is more absurd, though, than the look of the Green Bay Packers and the other teams that apparently collaborated with them. Albert Breer, NFL reporter, SI.com, expounded upon that yesterday on the Rich Eisen Show, which you can hear noon to 3 every weekday when there's not baseball on the VTR and Sports app. And you may have missed it, but we went back and were able to listen to that show anyway. So here's the thing. I detest the idea of banning a play because essentially you can't stop it. The Eagles, to me, there's no injury data that supports it. It's hypothetical injury data. Well, if we're going to do that, can we ban quarterback scrambling? Because hypothetically, a quarterback could suffer a concussion. In fact, there's actually more proof that that's actually happened. And we know the NFL cares about head injuries. Can we ban throws across the middle?
How about banning quarterback scrambles in general because it hurts the quarterback?
I mean, that's a great idea. They're such valuable commodities, TJ. We need to protect the quarterbacks from themselves so that they continue to be featured as primary players on broadcast. I say that somewhat tongue-in-cheek. What a bunch of wimps the Green Bay Packers are for leading the charge. What's a dumber look, though, for them? The fact that they messed this up and didn't get enough necessary votes, or the fact that they still can't stop the play. It's comical when you see that. Now, I will say this. The one defense for the defense trying to stop the play is more this. Not necessarily what Frankie Louvu said on the NFL Network, more on that in just a moment. But if you're going to allow offensive players to push the quarterback, then I think it would be reasonable to allow defensive players to push other defensive players to stop the quarterback. Like, to me, that's at least equitable. I buy that line of defense. But I don't necessarily buy the idea. I know you're about to say something. Thank you for your patience, CJ. I don't buy the idea that we need to protect the players from injuries when there's no real data that shows that injuries exist. It's more it's aesthetically unappealing. Well, I mean, if that's the case, should we ban the kneel down? Because there's not much aesthetically appealing value to that at the end of the game. Like when it's a 2-minute warning and teams have no timeouts or the game's a blowout and the other team's just going to kneel it 3 times. Should we get rid of that? Should we not allow you to spike the football because it stops the clock and it's an aesthetically unappealing play? Like, we're getting mighty subjective when it comes to that. And I mean, are you turning away from the game because the tush push is about to transpire? Like, the NFL is not losing viewership over this. And it is a football play. The linemen have to get down and block or try to stop it. The quarterback has to still sneak and get it across the line of scrimmage. Literally, one team has found a way to execute this better than everybody else. And even people have talked about the Buffalo Bills. They failed in the AFC Championship game on this. Like, they literally failed on the biggest stage. As someone who's a fan of personal accountability, TJ, that's what rankles my gears about this. Rather than whine, moan, and complain about this, actually do something to stop it.
What's comical is that the Packers do the tush push too with their tight end Tucker Kraft. Can we call them out for doing that too?
I mean, I honestly, I think that's even more aesthetically unappealing because let's keep it real here. The tight end's not a threat to throw. Like, you could line up for the tush push and then fake it and drop back and throw the football. But really, that's what we're going to do? And people have said, well, the tush push is, should be outlawed so we can have a 50-yard touchdown pass at midfield as opposed to actually trying to quarterback sneak. Okay, fine. We're getting subjective with it. I get there's a legion of fans out there that just hate the Philadelphia Eagles and want to ban it for that supposed line of thought. I wouldn't call it logic, but line of thought.
To call it not appeasing, people are going to want to see that because you talk about how big fantasy football is. Guess how many people are running to grab Jalen Hurts now that the tush push is still continuing?
That is a great point. Meanwhile, on to, is this a legitimate question to ask? But does Frankie Louvu's value all of a sudden drop? He spoke on NFL Network a couple of days ago and kind of gave a ho-hum, yeah, we should ban the tush push.
Man, my personal opinion,
yeah,
I think they should ban it. You know what I mean? But I know the argument is going to be about like, hey, you guys have to stop it. Don't get us in short yardage and whatnot. But
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like a Chico play, man. You got Jordan Mailata on the right. You got, it's pretty much a scrum in rugby. That's how I kind of look at it. And we got to have a scrum too on the other side. And the scrum is, we have a cadence where we all go at once. It's not like you hard count and this and that where, now you getting us or myself jumping over the pile thinking that they're about to snap the ball. And that's just my own personal opinion. And I'm going to leave it at that.
That was Frankie Louvu speaking on the NFL Network. Kind of ironic from a guy that kept jumping over the pile to try to stop the tush push. And I mean, let's keep it real here. Two things can be true. One, he is kind of a dirty player with the Washington Commanders. He had the concussion hit on Jalen Hurts. He's evolved into that, and it seems like he's embraced that role. I'll also say this. Washington and Philly, and Lake Lewis has touched on this ad nauseum and reiterated it justifiably so. On his weekly appearances every Tuesday on the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle, 7 to 8 a.m. and wherever you listen to podcasts. But this spices up the rivalry between Philadelphia and Washington to have this angle to it. One, Frankie Louvu talking about it, but also the fact that Frankie Louvu is a bit of a dirty player and a little bit of an edgy type player. I think it does backfire in certain spots. I think that you can find ways to exploit that as the Eagles have done in more traditional running situations, getting him out of position. But it does spice the rivalry up. And I will grant you, I like that element to it because when you think of rivalries in the NFC East, Cowboys, Washington, Philly, Dallas, Philly, the Giants, Giants, Cowboys. You don't really think Philly, Washington. It's probably the most unheralded of those rivalries, but they're the two that are best positioned, at least immediately, to have consistent success, which makes this all the more fun. One more thing on the tush push in.
Number 3.
I love the troll job of the Philadelphia Eagles, by the way, after the announcement was made, when they went to social media and had a post that was up, and the ultimate troll job post that you could possibly imagine from Philadelphia was lining up, and it just said, push on. And it had them getting ready to line up against the Green Bay Packers in the NFC playoffs for a tush push that, yes, they successfully converted, and the whiny Green Bay Packers failed to stop. And the other part of this is, here's the irony of ironies. Green Bay lost to Philly in the in the wild card round. 22-10. You know what the final vote tally was for the tush push ban? 22-10. Kind of amusing, kind of humorous, and maybe a little bit of karma and a reminder for those ever wimpy Green Bay Packers. Meanwhile, we shift over to different topics in
Number 2.
Biggest news of the NFL today that came down outside of the tush push is the NFL selecting the Buffalo Bills for the offseason Hard Knocks and the NFC East. for their in-division version of Hard Knocks. Now, there are a couple of interesting angles to this. I love the idea of the Buffalo Bills because they have such a passionate fan base, and they have a real superstar quarterback in Josh Allen. Granted, their head coach, Sean McDermott, smart as he is from William & Mary, a bit whiny because he was one of those that was very advocating to ban the tush push because Buffalo couldn't quite execute it like Philly whenever it really mattered in the playoffs, despite having a 6'6", 255-pound quarterback. You would think they could, but clearly they're not good enough to do that. Excuse me, spoken like somebody a little arrogant, as the Eagles won their second Super Bowl in 8 years, Buffalo with 0. But they are a compelling franchise. They have devout fans. The off-season Hard Knocks, though, with training camp coming up, the one thing I'll flip around and say, I would so much rather see the Buffalo Bills profiled on something in season because their fans are so passionate that incorporating them with everything they do for tailgates during the game would be a really cool feature to see that. I get you have to have somebody for the offseason, and Buffalo fits that description. I also get the fact that after the Giants fiasco last year with Saquon Barkley, and they didn't really want to retain him, and it got blown out on social media, and then of course Barkley guides Philly to a Super Bowl and an MVP caliber season. He didn't win it, but an MVP caliber season. You put all that in a blender, and nobody wanted to do it. I think you kind of have to go about it where you're forcing teams to do these shows right now. If you're the NFL, it's added content creation, but I think you almost have to totally change your standards at the NFL and say, you may not like it from a football operations standpoint, but from a business standpoint, fans consume it, and you have to find a way to feature the product, which leads us into
Number 1.
the NFC East is the in-season division for Hard Knocks. Last year, it was the Pittsburgh Steelers, and of course, I gobble up anything from my guy, William & Mary, grab Mike Tomlin,
Standard is the standard.
because he's so good to watch when he's speaking to his team. But the NFC East is one of the collection of teams in the NFL that is probably on the cutting edge when it comes to understanding the value of how to, pardon the French here, but pimp the brand. The Dallas Cowboys, to your ever-loving credit, they may have been peaking in the 90s.
It's looking a little bit like those Dallas Cowboys is peaking in the 90s.
On the football field, but Jerry Jones has always understood the bigger picture vision for what's good for the NFL and what's good for the Dallas Cowboys as a brand. People have talked about like the Boston Celtics in their sale for $6.2 million. And Trey talked about the potential of, if Oklahoma City wins the NBA championship, the NBA needs to announce that one of the 32 teams they would adding 2 to get to 32, would be Seattle Supersonics coming back. And the NBA doing that because of franchise value skyrocketing. The Dallas Cowboys will blow everybody out of the water if they were to ever be sold. They're not going to, because whenever Jerry passes, it's going to go to Charlotte Jones-Anderson and Stephen Jones and stay in the family. And they have also demonstrated very good business savvy, maybe not to the level of Jerry Jones, who, for all his warts, is a football personnel guy. He's a visionary when it comes to how to monetize the product. So featuring the Cowboys in season, just brand alone is big, but Jerry Jones understanding the value of that is big. Philadelphia, they've actually done this a couple of times with the Amazon Prime All or Nothing. They've been featured on some of these before, so they have leaned into it. Jeffrey Lurie made his big money in film, so he understands the value of cinematic production for that. I'll throw them in there as well. The Washington Commanders and Josh Harris in particular. They've understood that, and they are a franchise, and I think the NFL wants to do this. Lake Lewis, again, made this point yesterday on the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle, how the Washington Commanders are featured now on prime time or late Sunday afternoon games, prime slots, when it comes to being a focal point. By the way,
6 times, by the way.
And by the way, you can hear all of those games for free, like every game for free, on the VTR and Sports app and VTR and Sports on your smart speaker. Just ask them to open VTR and Sports. But there is a division, the NFC East, that understands the value of this. I don't think the access is going to be groundbreaking because from a football ops standpoint, I think everybody has figured out now how to curb what goes on camera. And players have figured out how to curb the real shady parts. Like, I'm still waiting for any version of Hard Knocks or Amazon Prime's All or Nothing to follow players into the Gentlemen's Club, and we can all see what's actually transpiring there as they might be making it rain. Like, that would be really entertaining to watch that. But I don't think we're going to get that because players and their ambassadors and their agents are going to snuff that thing out so it's not actually entertaining. But from a raw entertainment, what you can give the fans standpoint, these things are still better done than they've been in prior years, and the NFL understands that. Meanwhile, when we return in the fast lane, we understand that Lynchburg baseball once again finding their way to a super regional. So to discuss that, a little bit of golf success they've had, and yes, track and field as well, if we get a chance to do that. Ed Smith, Vice President of Sports Performance at the University of Lynchburg, joins us next. This is the Fast Lane on the VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports.
Mark Dalton here with the Terry Auto Group. If you don't love your car, then you're simply just driving the wrong one. At Terry Volkswagen, Terry Subaru, Terry Auto Outlet, and the Terry Clearance Center, we've got the perfect new or used car for you. We make your car buying experience easy. Need help with imperfect credit? No problem. Our team works hard to get you approved and back on the road. Because when you shop at Terry, you drive away happy. Visit us at any of our 4 locations or online at terryautogroup.com. Terry Auto Group. You'll love our cars.
Hi, I'm Robert O'Brien with Lynchburg Ready Mix. At age 7, our son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Our world changed instantly. We had to monitor blood sugar, count carbs prior to every meal. It was overwhelming. Thankfully, groups like Tide provide support when your world changes. Their programs and resources help people with type 1 diabetes live their best life. So please join Lynchburg Ready Mix at the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for Tide, so individuals like our son can still live an awesome life.
Welcome to the Villas at Oakwood. Our stunning community offers spacious, modern, wheelchair-accessible villas with top-of-the-line amenities. Enjoy views from the Peaks of Otter from your patio home. Connect with neighbors at our exclusive clubhouse. Discover your dream home today. Experience the maintenance-free lifestyle that you deserve. Visit us behind the Bedford Memorial Hospital, online at thevillasatoakwood.com, or just contact Robin Lee Sage at 434-238-4477.
Car insurance rates are rising rapidly. That's no secret. It's because the cost of medical care for those who are injured and the repair and replacement cost of damaged vehicles is skyrocketing. But what can you do about it? Hi, this is Judd Gardner with Gardner Insurance Solutions in Lynchburg. We've been helping Central Virginia drivers purchase the coverage they need at affordable prices since 1993. Talk with us before you pay again. We represent numerous companies and have many cost-saving strategies. Gardner Insurance Solutions, 434-316-5433.
Do you know what a cold climate heat pump is? They're a new generation of heat pumps from Tara Lee Mosley that provide substantially more heat than traditional heat pumps, even when it's 5 degrees outside. This means your electrical auxiliary heat runs less, saving you big time on your electric bill. And with the recent spikes in electric utility rates, that's crucial. Plus, these new heat pumps qualify you for a $2,000 federal tax credit. Contact Tara Lee Mosley for more info on the new cold climate heat pumps.
Rain takes a toll on your house, including your chimney. Even when it's not raining, prolonged humidity impacts your chimney. Don't wait for the problem to enter your house. Call Black Goose Chimney Service. Featuring decades worth of experience, Black Goose Chimney Service will assess what your chimney needs and give you honest answers. Because the longer you wait, the worse it gets. Get ahead of the problem. Call Black Goose Chimney Service and visit blackgoose.net.
Put some fun into your lunch or dinner. Come to Kodo Japanese for the show with fun hibachi-style Japanese prepared in front of you. Looking for calmer fun? Kodo Japanese serves Lynchburg's most delicious sushi, including the famed Vol crab rolls, plus drinks including specials on mimosas for brunch every Saturday and Sunday from noon to 3. Speaking of fun, everyone gets a free birthday dinner at Kodo, so put the fun into your meal at Kodo Japanese, Wards Road in Lynchburg.
This summer, you could go to the pool over and over and over. Or you could scuba dive in an aquarium, a lake, or the ocean for some of the most majestic views imaginable. I'm Chuck with Aquatrek Adventures. Our Try Scuba classes are a perfect way to help you decide if you're ready for scuba certification. When you are, we have classes that can get you certified in just a few days. Your next adventure awaits at Aquatrek Adventures, 30 Mill Lane in Salem, and online at aquatrekadventures.com.
Summer's here, and you're still trying to figure out how to balance work with the kids being out of school. Take them to Rise Up Climbing. With camps going all summer long from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., your kids will burn energy, have fun, and learn some new skills like building, strength, and overcoming obstacles. And the only week without camp is the week of Independence Day, June 30th through July 4th. So rise up and climb above the summer obstacle. Visit riseupclimbing.com for camp details, or drop by and see them on Church Street in downtown Lynchburg.
VTRN Sports is now heading to YouTube. Head to youtube.com/@VTRN Sports Lynchburg to watch both the morning warm-up with Trey Lyle and the Fast Lane with Ed Lane live each day. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and have notifications turned on. All the great local content you love with VTRN Sports is now on YouTube. Subscribe to the VTRN Sports YouTube channel at youtube.com/@VTRN Sports Lynchburg. Head to lynchburg-hillcats.com to lock in your tickets for the Lynchburg Hillcats this season. Now here's VTRN Sports.
Step into the Fast Lane 24/7 at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, back to the Fast Lane.
Kind of feel like these sound bites that we play are tied together, two different versions of singing, but it's time for a little confession here in the Fast Lane, and more importantly, asking for forgiveness.
Forgiveness is more than saying sorry.
That great anthem from Just Friends, because Ed Smith is not the vice president for sports performance. Maybe we could call him that. He's the assistant athletic director for sports performance at the University of Lynchburg. Whatever title you want to use, he helps the athletes perform at their best physically and mentally. And he does join us once again here in the Fast Lane. Golf at the NCAA Division III Championships in Rochester, New York. That got underway yesterday with a real big day for them. More on that momentarily. And then baseball, of course, back to the Super Regionals once again. Ed, welcome back into the Fast Lane. First of all, do you accept our confession and grant us forgiveness for butchering your title at the beginning of the Fast Lane today?
That's okay. Always. A title doesn't determine who I am, so I'll definitely take anything that you give me.
Well, within reason, I would imagine. Golf. So we'll touch on baseball in a moment, but Eddie Cochran, leader yesterday after the first round of the NCAA Division III Championships. The team was in 14th place, which is really solid considering the volume of teams that were competing in the particular event, 43 teams in total. Bigger picture question, though, for you. How different is your work with the golf team, and is it more mental than it would be for other sports, given the mental nature of golf?
Yeah, so very fortunate to have assistant Holden Fiedler working with our golf program, and I get to have my hands in with him on those type of things. But really with our golf athletes and really with all of our athletes, just try to train them to be athletes. The weight room is not sports specific in nature. It's hard to get someone to really increase their swing game, if you may, or their putt game in a 3-inch by 3-inch rack steel cage. So when we're in the weight room, we're training them to be a better athlete, a holistic athlete, and still train some quote unquote sports specificity through their demands of their game. But ultimately, if we can make them a better athlete, we'll let the coaches, Mike Maverka and Coach Allen, get them in a really good spot to play golf. And I think that's what they're doing right now.
Ed Smith, Assistant Athletic Director for Sports Performance for the University of Lynchburg Hornets, hanging out with us today in the Fast Lane. You mentioned the holistic part to athletes. What evolution have you seen from when you started in this role a decade or so ago to where we are right now in terms of athletes training, golfers training to be athletes, seemingly mirroring what we've seen at the PGA, where once upon a time it was like John Daly was the model for what a golfer looked like. Now all these people are rocked up physical specimens really since Tiger Woods.
Yeah, I think that's definitely on the golf side. I was sitting down with some of our coaching staffs of other teams here yesterday, talking about just some off-season stuff and those type of things. And really, that's what we're seeing over the last 10 years of being here. There are kids that are coming in that have a better physical fitness level, just general physical fitness, have been exposed to the weight room, have been exposed to high-speed running and those type of things, whereas 10 years ago, that might not be the case. They might have just had more exposure to just playing their sport. So that's been very, very cool to see how that evolution has really taken these athletes to the next level. And I think it does trickle from the top down. Those guys at the PGA Tour performing at a high level and lifting weights and getting after it, then they see that and they want to do it.
So you brought up the other parts of this of just seeing other people and kind of mirroring the golf game after other games. And I know it's a team effort with you and the coaching staff and the rest of your sports performance program at the University of Lynchburg with a sport like golf, Ed. Elaborate, though, when you help train them to be athletes, how much do you notice in particular a sport like golf, and maybe we'll put tennis in there as well, where there's such a finite amount of precision in the act of what you're doing, and you don't have a teammate to bail you out if it goes wrong. What you do in the sports performance side helps with the mental preparation and the ability to hyper-focus, which seems to be a key trait of strong golfers.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime that whether you're going to put heavy weight on your back, or you're going to move heavy weight fast, or you're going to move any kind of weight fast, or you're going to move in general, there's nobody else really there to help you. Yeah, you could have a spotter here or there in the weight room, but at the end of the day, you've got to execute every single rep at a high quality so that it's not putting you at risk for injury. And that's important for all of our athletes to make sure that we are making sure that we're taking that mental game serious. Not only in their sport, but every day, every opportunity they get in the weight room or outside running and those type of things. So again, golfer, men's lacrosse player, baseball player, all the way to even our track and field athletes. The opportunity is every rep with precision. And then from there, they can take that to their sport and really succeed at a high level.
Eddie Cochran was at the top of the leaderboard at the end of yesterday. They're still getting things wrapped up today in Rochester for the second day of the opening round of the NCAA Division III Men's Golf Championships. I'm sure the answer is not very, but how surprised were you, not just the fact that Eddie Cochran had a strong day, but that he emerged from the first day at the top of the leaderboard tied?
It's great to see all of his hard work really paying off at the national stage. Eddie's been someone that's been a staple at the top of our program for the last 4 years. And it's something that I really am happy to see him succeeding at a high level. And myself and my assistant sitting in the office kind of watching the leaderboard all day. He's really put a stamp on the Lynchburg program, but most importantly, his name on what he brings to the table. And I think that's really good for our program because you see we got a freshman up there, second in line, just following suit with him and really pushing him to continue to be better as well.
Ed Smith with us here in the Fast Lane. We can kind of look back on golf later when that wraps up, but they're right now in the midst of the NCAA Division III championships in Rochester, New York. That began yesterday, and Ed Smith, the assistant athletic director for sports performance, works with all the teams at the University of Lynchburg, hanging out with us today here in the Fast Lane. Once again, out of the regional are the Lynchburg Hornets baseball team. Sunday's game in particular against Emory. It looked like it was going to be easy. Then all of a sudden it was kind of that hold on for dear life at the end. I'm sure you're not surprised they made it back to the super regional, but what was your impression watching that game, how they were able to right the ship and go back to the thing we've said a lot today, mental toughness?
I mean, this is what this group has been built for, top to bottom, kids that can get the job done. And when they can't get the job done, you get that next man up mentality. People talk about that on the football side and all that on ESPN and who's next and what's next. That's really a part of this program is everybody's pushing each other. And then when we get in those situations where it's crunch time, somebody's going to step up into the batter's box, or somebody's going to step on the mound and really shut the other team down and close the door and finalize where we want it to be. This is not the end for us. This is not where we want to finish. So we're going to continue to take that mentality into the super regional, and talked about that at our lift yesterday with the guys. So that was very, very, very cool to see, to be where we are supposed to be at all times and with the highest intent possible.
You mentioned a lift for the baseball team. They'll get ready to take on Rowan in the super regionals in a couple of days, Ed. How different is the lift at this juncture of the season for the baseball team compared to other points?
It is a lot different. If we go back to off-season training, there's a lot more structure from my end, really giving them exactly what I want them to do. As we start to get later in the season, really mid-season on, I give them kind of parameters and some choices and allow them to make those choices because they've earned that right to make choices this late in the season. And everybody's body is kind of needing a little bit different demand. Somebody that might be playing every inning might need a little bit different demand than somebody that's just going out to throw to 2 or 3 batters or to 2 or 3 hitters. So it's very important for me to give them some parameters for all situations, and then from there allow them to make the choices that work best for their body and where their body is currently.
It's amazing to think of how players are at different junctures of the season. This is another one of those over the years questions. I'm sure you and your staff have fine-tuned how you have approached players over the course of the season. Have you noticed your athletes in baseball, but really in all sports, understanding how to budget themselves so that they are not physically and mentally burned out at this juncture of the year?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's something that this program, specifically the baseball program, has had to kind of learn. This is kind of new territory for this program within the last 5 years of really making it this far and really doing damage. So, if I think back to even the national championship year, some of those guys that were centerpieces with that still on the program, and Benton Jones and Brandon Garcia, those 2 guys have understood that what they did as a freshman might not be exactly with the recipe that's working for them now. And so they've had to make some adjustments, but still working with high intent has been on the highest level for them.
All right. I'm going to ask another one of these mental questions, but baseball in particular. I mean, you mentioned Benton Jones, and it brought up the fact that he and Joe Muniz are 2 of the most walked players in Division III baseball, which requires clearly a level of discipline and knowing when and when not to swing at a particular pitch. Is it vision exercises? Is it patience exercises? Is it bang, bang reaction exercises? What are things that you and your staff are able to do to help get players like that locked in so they can have that discipline at the plate and knowing exactly what call to make in a split-second decision like swing or not?
I mean, from my standpoint, it's not a lot. It's building confidence in them to handle any situation given to them. I attribute all their successes to themselves and the coaching staff on giving them right situations on when to hold and when to really hang in there and try to stay at the plate. I think if you look back at stats from Benton Jones through the 4 years that he's been at the plate for us, I mean, you can see the consistent growth. He had tons of home runs as a freshman. Well, that means people are probably not going to throw at you. So you're going to have to be consistent at the plate and really make the adjustment to get your hits. You talked about Joe Muniz, having a great year last year, really hammering away. People are not going to throw you the best balls anymore because they don't want you to get on base. Because once you get on base, you're dangerous. And where you're at in the lineup, that top of the lineup, really, really dangerous once they get on base and get after it. So it's just building that patience and really trusting in their abilities at the plate to get it done.
Lynchburg Hornets second in the country in walks drawn this year, which is impressive. And somebody who's partially behind that, even though he doesn't want too much credit, is the assistant athletic director for sports performance, Ed Smith, hanging out with us today in the fast lane. When they're around the ballpark itself, there's obviously a different level of focus, and baseball at times can be more relaxed and fun. And there's an element to that that's different. But you're around these players as well, and you mentioned the lift. What's the vibe now that they've not only gotten back to super regionals, but once again, they're able to play it at the home of the Lynchburg Hillcat City Stadium Friday at noon and then Saturday starting at 11 a.m.?
The vibes are really high. I can tell you that. We're very fortunate to really have this opportunity to play where we're at and be at home and get over to the Hillcat Stadium. Like I said, they were in for lift. The lift was just as much energy this week as it's been in weeks past. Really, guys really getting after it and attacking every opportunity that they have in the weight room, and that's what we've tried to push them to this point.
For track and field, they have a chance to bring home as many as 11 national championships. It's a lot. There are opportunities that are there, and they are clearly one of the best programs for Division III track and field, and they'll get ready to head up to Spire Academy in Ohio to compete for that this upcoming weekend. Of all the sports in which you participate, and I say this as a runner, maybe it's because I'm old and it's a little more challenging, but when you continue to accrue the miles and the effort, the body feels different at so many different times. What are the steps that you and your staff have taken in particular to allow these athletes to, we know what they've done recently, but to continue to get better over the course of the season rather than hit that wall?
Well, again, I go back to attribute to all the successes to this program that track and field coaching staff with Jake Reed and Jim Sprecher. They have really put a nice training program together, both on the tracks, cross country in the if you want to call that the off season for those distance runners that are having tons of success. But they have a good system in place that Jim Sprecher brought from here, and how they lift and what they do is kind of on par with how that system's put in place. Monday they're going to get after it. They're going to come down in the weight room after they run, get their heavy lift in. They're going to go through the week and do their running and put their mileage in and their jumps. And then Thursday they'll come back in, still get another lift in, and get that primer for the weekend style stuff that they do. So again, I attribute that tons of that back to Coach Sprecher and Jake Reed and those guys. We just give them a space to train and get after it.
Is there any pressure for a guy, particularly Sam Lorenzo, who's got a chance to now pass James Gross, who's had the all-time record for All-American performances in men's track at the University of Lynchburg? Is there pressure or maybe even an added advantage with the fact that, he's part of a collection of Lynchburg Hornet runners that all run the 1,500 meter together? They're in the distance, they're in the relays, and because of that, maybe it takes some of that off.
Yeah, I think he definitely, in talking with Sam in passing and those type of things, like Sam, if you see him on a day that he's got to run versus a day that he doesn't have to run, and it's something that I've observed from afar, he's the same person. He's just very methodical in his approach, but also keeps it fun, and he has a great group around him, like you mentioned, those guys that are run that 1,500. They're all together, and they're always working in unison. So it's I don't think it's all pressure on him. Yeah, there's pressure for everybody that has an opportunity to win a national title and, get all these All-Americans and those things. That's natural human to feel pressure. But I think once he takes off running, I'm sure he'll get in that quote unquote runner's high, and all those things will go away until he crosses that line. And he'll put his fingers probably to the air in recognition of Frank Cazorba and those that were here with him during that time.
Yeah, there's a special bond that's there, and particularly for this class, you mentioned with Frank, and obviously, his tragic passing a year or so ago. What is that like, and how much is that still carried over into the focus, the dedication, and running for something bigger?
Oh, it is that's all that they do. And even before our tragic loss of Frank, Coach Jake Reed has a thought process of suffer better, and really to suffer better, you probably got to suffer with people around you. Nobody ever suffered alone very well. So I think that really is something that is ingrained in these guys, ingrained in this process for them to keep continuing to build and grow a very successful program. And I think it'll show when everything comes to a head at the end of this weekend.
Ed Smith, Assistant Athletic Director for Sports Performance at the University of Lynchburg, hanging out with us today in the Fast Lane. Ed, congratulations to the work you've been a part of with golf, with baseball, and with men's and women's track and field at the University of Lynchburg. Looking forward to following all the action over the course of this weekend and seeing how it results in hopefully great performances for everybody and a chance to recap it again coming up.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate you highlighting the Lynchburg Hornets.
Ed Smith with us here today in the Fast Lane. When we return, we've had some fan feedback on a couple of other topics. NBA playoffs, we touched on that earlier this week in the Fast Lane. Also, did you notice the end of a TV show? More on that later as well, which sparked by some comments we made earlier this week in the Fast Lane. All of that when we return. This is the Fast Lane on the VTR and Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTR and Sports.
At Easy Mobility Solutions, we're proud to support the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for the Type 1 Diabetes Experience. For over a decade, Easy Mobility Solutions has helped individuals rediscover their freedom through our proven process: evaluate, educate, empower. Whether it's wheelchairs, stair lifts, platform lifts, or home accessibility modifications, we're here to make mobility easy. Join Easy Mobility Solutions on race day and support the Type 1 Diabetes Experience. Register at TIDE.org. That's T1,
Car insurance rates are rising rapidly. That's no secret. It's because the cost of medical care for those who are injured and the repair and replacement cost of damaged vehicles is skyrocketing. But what can you do about it? Hi, this is Judd Gardner with Gardner Insurance Solutions in Lynchburg. We've been helping Central Virginia drivers purchase the coverage they need at affordable prices since 1993. Talk with us before you pay again. We represent numerous companies and have many cost-saving strategies. Gardner Insurance Solutions, 434-316-5433.
Hi, I'm Robert O'Brien with Lynchburg Ready Mix. At age 7, our son was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Our world changed instantly. We had to monitor blood sugar, count carbs prior to every meal. It was overwhelming. Thankfully, groups like Tide provide support when your world changes. Their programs and resources help people with type 1 diabetes live their best life. So please join Lynchburg Ready Mix at the Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for Tide so individuals like our son can still live an awesome life.
Have you looked at your home's exterior lately? Do you see faded siding, paint peeling, and wood rotting, windows that are impossible to open and close, and gutters falling off? Call Collins Siding and Windows to transform your home's exterior and save you money on energy costs. Dreaming of a new porch or sunroom? Collins can do that too. Since 1989, Collins Siding and Windows has been transforming homes in Central Virginia. Roofs, windows, siding, gutters, porches, decks, and sunrooms. They can do it all. Call Collins Siding and Windows today, 434-525-6307.
Join the Lynchburg Hillcats at Bank of the James Stadium this summer for any of your favorite nightly promotions. New this year are Senior Sluggers Tuesdays, where members of the Silver Sluggers Club get in free, and College Pride Night, where those wearing college apparel receive a discounted ticket on Wednesdays. As always, we'll have Thirsty Thursdays and giveaways and fireworks on the weekend, and free admission for Kids Club members on Sunday. Get your tickets today at lynchburg-hillcats.com.
Start your Memorial Day with a fun, family-friendly event. Join us Memorial Day morning at the Depot Plaza in downtown Lynchburg for a 10K run or 2-mile walk, followed by food and fun. Come for a healthy way to honor the holiday. Most importantly, your participation benefits Tide, the type 1 diabetes experience. Tide supports individuals living with type 1 and type 2 diabetes so they can live their best lives. Register now at Tide.org. That's T1DE.org to join us for the 2025 Memorial Day 10K run and 2-mile walk for the type 1 diabetes experience.
With MedGuard Alert, you're never alone. You can connect with medical professionals anywhere, anytime. And now MedGuard is introducing our exclusive new CareWatch. If you need help quickly, use it from anywhere to contact medical professionals. No cell phone required. The CareWatch is not only a life-saving medical alert device, it's a revolutionary health monitoring system that checks your blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen saturation, and much more. And here's the best part. If you have Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. The CareWatch is only available through MedGuard Alert. Call us right now. We have monitoring programs starting as low as $1 a day. The call is free, activation is free, shipping is free, and no contract is required. Remember, with Medicaid, you may qualify to get your CareWatch for free. Call us to get your CareWatch right now.
800-681-8020. 800-681-8020. 800-681-8020. That's 800-681-8020.
The Virginia Talk Radio Network is our Lynchburg-based group with 8 over-the-air AM and FM radio stations and streaming platforms, featuring news talk, sports, and classic hits. Last year, we started over 900,000 digital streams to your CarPlay, smart speakers, and smartphones. This year, we are going for over 1 million streams. When you run a commercial from us, it plays on all of our platforms, including over 1 million streams. No Lynchburg-based group reaches more people. If you haven't advertised with us yet, advertise with us now. Call Melinda for more information and play your message on our 8 over-the-air radio stations and over our 1 million digital streams. The Virginia Talk Radio Network and Rewind 1039. We play everywhere on every device. Call Melinda today, 434-534-6100. That is 434-534-6100.
Hey gang, this is Bud Foster, former defensive coordinator for the Virginia Tech Hokies. You're listening to The Fast Lane with Ed Lane and Trey Lyle. Join the chat at Trey Lyle VT and Fast Lane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
I can't tell you how often things pop up where it just feels like I'm hiding under a rock. And another one of those arose a couple of days ago, which leads us into some fan feedback.
Come join the chat or give us a piece of your mind. Trey Lyle VT and Fastlane Ed Lane on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, it's time for fan feedback in the Fast Lane.
So Carl chimed in, got an email about ESPN's Around the Horn, which concludes its 23-year run on Friday. It talked about how influential the show has been and the alumni that the show has spawned. But I don't ever recall watching one episode. Carl wraps up asking, am I alone? What did I miss? You know what? I don't know if you're alone or not. This is the big gap between media coverage of sports media and then how your average person out there might consume sports media. And I say this and it sounds elitist and maybe it is, but I've got a regular 9-to-5 job. So it's very rare that I'm going to be able to pause during the 9-to-5 time to watch a show, even if it's watched back time delayed on YouTube. Again, I've said this before, I can listen on the VTRN Sports app or listen at double the speed on podcasting platforms and all of a sudden be exposed to something I wasn't exposed to previously. But, it's amazing because ESPN has invested $20 million in Stephen A. Smith. $20 million. You talk about how much he's getting in a lot of these other Embrace debate shows. To me, it's the lowest common denominator. To whom are they appealing? A lot of times it's people that are not working at jobs, because if you're working a 9-to-5 job, do you really have the time to sit down, watch, and consume a show like that? That's my biggest question. I understand there are other people that may have been influential in this regard. And look, this is not hating on Stephen A. Smith for getting as much money as he possibly can. If you're Stephen A., God bless you. Go get the money. This is fantastic. But when you're talking about just average consumption habits of a regular person, Carl, am I alone? What did I miss? I know the shows were there and influential. I understand that, back in the day, it was Wilbon and Kornheiser on PTI, but that show got canned over time because once on-demand consumption popped up, and then you start to realize that you're paying a lot of money for shows that, are generating at most 1 million viewers. That's the thing where it really feels like you're getting a real gap on everything else. That does it for us today in the Fast Lane. We appreciate your time. We're back tomorrow, more regularly, 5 to 6, VTRN Sports app, and ask that smart speaker, open VTRN Sports. The Fast Lane on VTRN Sports, 93.3 FM, W227BG Timberlake, and 1320 AM, WV.